how is it considered ethical for people to own so many houses? I'm just wondering how, as a Christian, this isn't seen as greed.
It is seen as greed. Luke 3:11. Anyone who has 2 shirts should share with the one who has none, and anyone who has food should do the same. In this case, Dave Ramsey has hundreds of millions of dollars, while in this very moment, people are dying from factors of poverty, and Dave is choosing to not share with those people clearly in need. This is as clear an example of greed as we get based on biblical ethics.
Don't you know that buying up all these homes is what's causing the housing shortage?
Let's just start with not the spiritual part, but your economic understanding. That's not what's causing the housing shortage. Investors buying up houses is not causing the housing shortage.
Investors made up 14.8% of home purchases in the first quarter of 2024, the highest percentage in the data's history dating to 2001. So while it's true that investors buying up houses isn't the only thing causing the housing shortage, to not address that investor housing purchases are the highest they've been in decades? Come on, Dave.
Can we stay on that for just a second?
Yeah.
Because that is a thing going around, that these massive hedge funds or Blackstone, like all these, they're coming in and buying up.
But they don't have a soul.
That's right. Okay, so
hedge funds don't have a soul.
Yes.
So it's wrong to buy up a bunch of houses if you don't have a soul, but if you do have a soul, then it's okay. In what way at all does that address the original question, which was, is owning multiple houses greedy? That answer seems to imply that if you have a soul, you can't be greedy, which is clearly not accurate.
For the average person out there who has maybe 2 or 3 rental homes, right? They're on baby steps and they're doing it.
In what world does the average person have 2 or 3 rental homes?
They're not causing the problem. But Blackstone, those guys are buying up houses. So that's true.
Is that affecting the housing market at all? Because that is.
It probably is to some extent, but not as much as TikTok says it is.
Okay, so here we go. He says that institutional investors do affect housing prices, but not as much as TikTok says it does. How about instead of arguing over how accurate your view of TikTok is, you address the claim being made that investors are buying up more houses than ever. Here's a graph showing the shares of U.S. homes bought by investors from 2002 to 2022, and it's plainly obvious that investors buying houses is going up dramatically. It's about 3 times higher than it was 20 years ago. Why does Dave refuse to address this fact and instead says that TikTok is being overly dramatic?
I don't even know, 15, 20 houses and a bunch of commercial real estate as well. How is that not greed? Because I don't own anything. I'm a Christian, and that means God owns it, and I'm managing it for him. So I guess you're calling God greedy now.
All right. I think it should be clear to just about everyone how him saying that despite him owning between 15 to 20 homes among a lot of commercial real estate, it's not greed because technically he doesn't own anything. God does. Let's just play this out for a second. Let's say Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk says that they aren't greedy because they don't own anything. They're Christians and therefore God owns it. Would you accept that from them as a reasonable answer? My guess is that you wouldn't. We can clearly see that despite calling it not his, Dave Ramsey is benefiting from his immense wealth. For example, a couple years back, Dave Ramsey sold his 13,000 square foot mansion with a private pool, fountains, a giant yard, and 9 bathrooms for over $10 million. While he can, of course, say it wasn't his mansion, it's God's mansion. How lucky it is for Dave Ramsey that God lets him live in such a luxury estate. So while he can say he's just managing God's money, it's hard for me to imagine that God would look at Dave Ramsey living in a luxury mansion while the unsheltered homeless rate in the U.S. continues rising, and God would say, yeah, that's the best way for you to manage my money. Imagine old Ramsey boy looking God in the face and saying, yes, God, I know there were thousands of homeless where I live, but I thought the best use of your money was for a bigger private pool at my estate.
Okay, so devil's advocate, what would you say if Greg was like, well, Dave, why do you need so many houses? Why don't you just give all that extra money away?
I'm managing money for God.
Him answering this question with a straight face cracks me up. Just imagine him saying that to God. Yes, God, I know there's starvation and poverty and homelessness happening as we speak, but I think the best way to showcase your selflessness and loving nature is for me to buy up more rental properties and commercial real estate so that I can accumulate more wealth, but not for me. It's more wealth for you, God.
this is the same logic of, well, is it greedy to have more in your retirement than maybe you may not need?
And from a Christian worldview, yes, that is greedy. Now, the answer might be different if we didn't have millions of fellow humans living in poverty and starvation and squalor right alongside us. But given that that's the world that we live in, how can you, as a Christian, make the case to hoard more wealth than you need?
Like,
Listen, if you got three bathrooms, you have three more than most people in the world. Why are you not greedy? If you have two cars, you have two cars more than most people in the world. If you make $38,000 a year, you're in the top 1% of income earners in the world. How are you not greedy?
This is a classic false dichotomy. When he says if you have 3 bathrooms or 2 cars or make over 38 grand a year, then you're greedy by global standards. His point being, most people would agree that in the US, those things don't signal greed. And there's more nuance than that. And I can totally agree, there is more nuance than that. Here's the thing. Right now, Dave Ramsey's net worth is predicted to be somewhere close to $1 billion, meaning he's in the top 0.001% of wealthiest humans. Now, while I think we can all agree that there's nuance to greed and hoarding obscene amounts of wealth, in that same vein, I think we can all agree that when you're in the top 0.001% of wealthiest individuals on the planet, you're being greedy. To quote Matthew 6:21, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." And Dave Ramsey has amassed quite the worldly treasure.
Because amounts don't create greed. Greed is a spirit. It is not an amount.
What a convenient thing for Ramsey to say, that amounts don't mean greed. So he really would apply his logic to someone like Bezos or Musk, that if their heart was in the right place, you couldn't call them greedy.
And, if you want to be a communist, just be a communist. Don't try to blame Christianity for it.
Now, I wasn't going to bring up communism, but since you brought it up, Luke 3:11. Anyone who has 2 shirts should share with the one who has none, and anyone who has some food should do the same. Giving from those who have to those who need is all throughout the Bible. And while that isn't communism because the Bible doesn't talk about economic theory, giving what you have to anyone in need is clearly a core tenet of Jesus' teachings. And notice that verse doesn't say anyone who has 1 billion shirts can keep accumulating shirts as long as they say that the shirts are for God and not for them. It says if you have 2 shirts, give 1 away to the person in need. 1 John 3:17 says, if anyone has material possessions and sees a brother or sister in need but has no pity on them, how can the love of God be in that person? And Dave, that is a legitimate question I'm asking you. If anyone has material possessions, Dave, you're among the wealthiest humans on this planet, and sees a brother or sister in need but has no pity on them, Dave, there are hundreds of thousands of homeless people in the U.S. You have more rental properties and commercial properties than you can even remember off the top of your head. So I ask you, how can you say you have the love of God in you? And in your answer, please remember, you're welcome to lie to me. Go right ahead. But do you think those lies will hold up with God? Do you really think you can make the case that it's morally and ethically sound for you, Dave Ramsey, to have hundreds of millions of dollars while people in this very second are dying from poverty? If so, I would love to hear your answer.
Greed is not an amount, it's a spirit.
That's it.
And maybe more importantly than me hearing it, the people who really need to hear your answer are the millions of people who listen to you regularly, hoping to hear solid financial advice based in Christian ethics. Because to be honest with you, if Dave Ramsey was just some rich guy, I'd disagree with his behaviors, but I'm not going to make a video on it. But given that Dave Ramsey is arguably the most popular Christian financial commentator, well, his answers matter. They matter a lot. And one last thing I do, just for a gut check, just for myself, I try and imagine Jesus doing whatever the thing in question is, and that can help me discern if something is ethical in the Christian worldview. And I gotta say, I cannot imagine Jesus coming down to earth and saying his goal is to become a billionaire for God.